Good morning, Knicks Nation. This is Raw Hebrew Remnant coming at you with another video. Excuse my mouth. I'm missing my bottom teeth. I have my veneers on and they do make an annoying noise, and some people have noticed it, and I don't like it either. So I decided to try to get ugly this morning and just get the content out. Okay, so talking about Knicks business this morning. So this is the situation. Obviously, the Knicks have cap space. And obviously, there's a lot of rumors. As I mentioned, there's a lot of rumors that's going to continue all the way until draft night. You're going to have rumors because that's the way it is in Knicks world every year. And so you can have rumors. This year, because of the number of players that we have that are going to be unrestricted free agents, or that we're going to allow to be unrestricted free agents, namely Bobby Portis, Wayne Ellington, Elfrid Payton, Reggie Bullock. Of course, we already traded Marcus Morris and Mo Harkless. Because of the amount of players that we have that we signed to 1-year contracts or 1-year and team option contracts, that they'll probably, most of them will probably be let go. The Knicks will probably keep those, I don't know, some people think he might keep Reggie Bullock because he's only $4.2 million and he's a shooter. The same can be said. Well, Wayne Ellington is $8 million, so he'll probably be gone. But some people think that some of these players will be kept, and they might keep 1 or 2. But I would say the lion's share of them would probably be not exercised and let those contracts go. They have to pay each of these guys. Oh, and then there's Taj Gibson at $9 million. They got to pay each of these guys $1 million as part of their deal. Even if they cut them, the $1 million is guaranteed. So with Ellington, Gibson, what else? Bullock. Ellington, Gibson. I don't think Bullock, but Ellington, Gibson, Payton for sure, and I think Portis. I think they're guaranteed $1 million each, so that's $4 million. Now the Knicks do have a $4 million or $3.9 million trade exception, that if they use these in trade, they probably could use that to pay the $1 million or something, whatever. But one of the rumors that's going around, that, we probably want to take a little, just like we take the CP3 one a little seriously because of the Leon Rose relationship with him. We want to take this a little seriously because of our, what we're looking for. I don't want to say desperation, and I don't want to say need, because of our desire to land impact free agent. Let's put it that way. Because of our desire to land an impact free agent. Fred Van Vleet is going to be on the market from the Toronto Raptors. Toronto has to make some decisions. Now, Asai Ujiri, their general manager, has said that, it's a priority to re-sign Fred Van Vleet. But I also want you all to know, all general managers say that, especially with a player that is a key piece to a championship team that they have. And then there was a key piece again this year to a team that went to the semifinals of the Eastern Conference. So they're going to say that, but they got decisions to make with him, Serge Ibaka, Gasol, Marc Gasol. They got some decisions to make with these guys. And even though they can go over the cap to sign Fred Van Vleet, money is limited because of the amount of revenues that the NBA is going to lose this coming year. So there's a lot of pressure on GMs, and there's a lot of decisions to make because of the loss of revenue. And also there's still the luxury tax is still in effect. So teams have to be careful with their dollars. And so this is a big decision for Toronto. So from what I'm gathering, Toronto has a number. I don't know what the number is, but they have a number that they're willing to spend on Fred Van Vleet. And if he goes above that number, they'll let him go. Now, some people think the number is 20 million, and that does make sense because of the Malcolm Brogdon contract. And this is not uncommon in the NBA. Players look what other players got. Agents look at what other players in similar situations have gotten, and they're looking for their guy to get at least that. So Malcolm Brogdon signed a 4-year, $85 million deal. He gets $20 million a year, but the extra $5 million is incentivized. So he can meet certain incentives and he can make that extra $5 million over the, it's the 4-year, over the 4 years of the contract. Now, Fred Van Vleet would be looking something in that similar range. And recently we've seen the number around $22 million a year. I don't know if that's true or not, but we've seen that number. I know the Knicks can afford to go easily up to $25 million. Now, here's caution with regard to Fred Van Vleet that I'm going to suggest here today. Caution. The reason I'm going to suggest caution is because if you look at Fred Van Vleet with the Toronto Raptors, Toronto has Pascal Siakam as their first option. They have Kyle Lowry, who has long been, 1 or 2 option in their offense. Then they have other players like Norman Powell that's also an option. And of course, then they use Marc Gasol, they use Serge Ibaka. And then there's Fred Van Vleet. So he's not the first option, I guess is my point. He's not necessarily the second option either. And for him, this was good because he excelled in that scenario. He can get wide open threes, which he's very adept at hitting. He can get into the paint. Now, he's not a great finisher. We know that, but he does get into the paint and he's a very high IQ player, so he can get the ball to the right people. If he came to the Knicks, and let's say the Knicks paid him $22 million a year, either a 4-year, $88 million deal, or I prefer a 3-year, $66 million deal. If he came to the Knicks, would he be thinking he's the first option? Because he's not going to be the same player if he's the first option. Okay. It's similar to Julius Randle in that regard. If Julius Randle came to your understanding he's the third option or the fourth option on a team, and he wasn't asked to be, Draymond Green and bring the ball up. And he wasn't asked to set up the offense. He was asked to create space on the low block. To get on the low block, to sometimes hit an occasional three, and rebound. If he was asked to do those things and he was like a third option, he'd have been a different player. But he wasn't. He came here to sign the contract that he signed, 363, to be the first option, to be the man, to be the alpha dog. And obviously he is not that. I don't think Fred Van Vleet is either. Fred Van Vleet is an excellent complementary piece. As you can see with Toronto, he's an excellent complementary piece. Really solid jump shooter. And for his size, a tremendous defensive player, high IQ, but he is not your first option. So any Knicks fans that's out here thinking Fred Van Vleet's going to be some sort of savior, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. I'm just saying that right now. I'm not saying the Knicks shouldn't sign him. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm saying if they sign him with the expectation that he's the number one option, you're going to have a problem. Teams are going to game plan for him. They're going to double him. They're going to make sure he doesn't get the open jump shots. He's going to be getting contested shots. They're going to leave RJ Barrett open to shoot and cover Fred Van Vleet. Okay. Now RJ is going to be 20. He's 20. He just finished age 19 season. I expect big strides from him. And the reason I expect big strides from him is because I expect the Knicks to create a situation for RJ where the floor is more opened. That's why I'm expecting Julius Randle to not be on this team this coming season, because he clogs up the middle and he doesn't allow the floor to be open. We need a stretch four for that. Okay. A guy that's a threat from the 4 position. A Davis Bertans, a Danilo Gallinari. It really, you could get a number of stretch fours that can shoot the basketball. It's not, and again, I'm not talking about guys that's going to win us the championship. Some of you guys take some of these suggestions and act like, well, this guy can't win us a championship. We're not trying to win a championship right now. Listen carefully. We are not trying to win a championship right now. We're trying to develop our young players so that in 3 years we can win a championship. That's what we're talking about. So this year is a development year. So you want players in your rotation that's going to help your players that you really are handpicked to be your next stars develop. Therefore, we want RJ to be the number one option. He's a bricklayer for sure, but you want him to be a number one option because you want to develop him. He's got that Jimmy Butler in him. So you want to open the floor a little bit. So you need a stretch floor. Fred Van Vleet would be an excellent complementary piece. a guy that can open the floor. You can't leave him open. Therefore, you can get RJ some space. Okay? And you'd have RJ as your number one option. You'd have whoever that stretch four is as your second option. And then you have Fred Van Vleet. Okay. And next to Van Vleet, you want a guy like a Frank Ntilikina that also plays tight defense. And I'm expecting all you haters out there, you keep hating on Frank. It's all good, because if they don't trade this brother and they pay him the minutes that I think Thibodeau's going to play him, y'all going to be eating your words at the end of the year. Because I think his jump shot is going to be improved. He's going to add some offense to his arsenal, and his defense is already tight. And if the Knicks start to make improvements, I'm not even talking about playoff. I mean, if they're looking at 35 to 40 wins, that's a big deal. And that will put more emphasis on our team in terms of people will be noticing our team, because New York's the hugest market in the NBA, and the noise will be loud and people will be looking at it. Of course, the media will try to shrug it off, but Frank will be making big strides. You need a guy like that beside a Fred Van Vleet with the length that he has to be your lockdown defender, to lock down your opposing team's wings. Okay, you add him and RJ and Fred. All three of them play very good defense. With a Mitchell Robinson, you got a very good defensive unit. And we did do a video on the Knicks developing an elite defense. So it's a cautionary tale here. Cautionary. What I'm saying is, I don't mind Fred Van Vleet. I don't mind him, but let's not set him up, and I hope the Knicks don't set him up to come here to be some sort of savior. That whole savior syndrome has been trouble for us for a minute now. All right, so I'm saying let him come here and be the second or third, really the third option. If we can get a good stretch four in here, like I said, we can get a good shooter, a Davis Bertans, a Danilo Gallinari. I know Jeremy Grant is probably a better all-around player than both of those guys, but he's a decent shooter, but he's not a great shooter. He's a shooter that can shoot well in limited options. Like if he takes 4 shots a game, but you want a guy that can hoist up 7 or 8 and hit 3. You know, that's what you want. You want a guy that can throw up 7 threes a game and hit 3 or 4 of them. And if he's hot, might hit 6 or 7 of them. That's the guy you want. See, if you want to do a real stretch four. And so you're talking about Davis Bertans, you're talking about Danilo Gallinari. Those are the guys that come to my mind right off the bat because they shoot the best. I mean, Mook is a player. Mook is a nice, he's New York swag style. I love Mook style. But if my first 2 choices would be Bertans and Gallinari, because we're trying to develop RJ, not because we're trying to go to the finals. We're trying to develop RJ, and these 2 guys will open the floor for RJ. Okay, then you bring in a Vassell, who's also got a 7-foot wingspan, and now you got a rotation on the wing, that you can play for years. So that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, I like the idea of Fred Van Vleet, but I don't want all of us to begin believing that all of a sudden we're playoff bound because we got Fred Van Vleet and he's all of a sudden going to be our superstar. That's not what we'd be getting him for. We'd be getting him because he's a complimentary piece. And people would be saying, well, why are we paying so much for him? Because the Knicks stink and we got a lot of money and Fred wants the bag. Let me say it again. The Knicks stink and we got a lot of money and Fred wants the bag. That's why he come. Okay. We're not going to get top tier free agents here. Don't listen to the media. They always set you up. They do it all the time. Well, Anthony Davis would be good here, or Westbrook would be good here, or maybe LeBron's thinking of New York, and Giannis, can New York get Giannis? Come on, man. No. These cats at that level are not coming to New York. The glare, and you heard even the punk KD said, he didn't want all that New York media. Well, a lot of guys think like that. They may not verbalize it, and they may not be as punkish about it as KD is, but they think like that. So they're not coming here to try to be a savior to a franchise that's been struggling for 20 years. They want something in place. Now, you get some development from some of these young guys. You bring in a Fred Van Vleet or somebody that can complement RJ. You get a stretch 4 in here and you get to the 42 win area. Now you got people looking at you next year. And then if you do it again next year, maybe you get to 45 wins next season with more development from your youth and some more draft picks. Now you got people looking at you. Now you might get a superstar that says, and 2 years from now, you know what? The Knicks are coming. I can be that piece in New York and win a championship in New York See, that's what you want. But right now is not the time, my brother. Not the time right now. Right now, we got to develop these young guys. We get a Fred Van Vleet in here, give him a little bit of the bag, okay? I'm not saying 100 million. I mean, maybe if he got 4 years, 100 million, that'd be a little bit ridiculous, but I don't know what they're going to pay this cat. But I'm thinking 22 million a year, 3 years, 66 million. That's what I'm thinking. And if Toronto offers him a 4th year, I'd be surprised if Toronto offered him 5 years. But if they offer him a 4th year and he goes 4 years, 80 million, we may have to up ours to 4 years, 88 million. We may have to do that. But, yeah, so that's the case. And then again, there's no guarantee we get this guy. He's a 2nd tier player, the type where that's what we'll be looking at right now. We're not looking at Bentleys and Rolls Royces right now. Right now, we're looking at solid Lexuses, Toyotas, Hondas. That's what we're looking at right now. Because we're not in the game right now to be getting no Bentleys right now. We can't be buying. We can't even go on the Bentley lot right now. You know what I'm saying? We're not there with the Maserati yet. You know what I mean? We're not there yet. But we need to start with the solid Hondas and Toyotas that we know can run. You understand what I'm saying? So that's where we are right now. So I'm just again saying, I don't mind our Fred Van Vleet brother, but don't expect this man to be a savior. Don't expect him to be a number 1 option. If they sign him like that, huge mistake. Peace.